The bed felt too wide, too cold, just like my marriage. I stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks like the years I'd spent waiting for a touch that never came. Then he moved in next door, and everything changed. I was 39, married, and yet achingly alone. My husband, Daniel, and I were strangers sharing a home. We hadn't touched in years, not really. He slept on his side of the bed like it was a border he refused to cross. Each night, I lay awake, tracing the ceiling's cracks, each one a silent tally of my loneliness. The silence between us was louder than any argument. I'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen, to be wanted. Then Marcus arrived. It was a humid Saturday when I first saw him, carrying boxes into the apartment next door. Tall, broad-shouldered, he moved with a quiet confidence that drew my eye. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead, and his eyes deep, piercing, caught mine as he glanced up. I felt a flush creep up my neck and quickly turned away, pretending to fumble with my keys. Our first real conversation happened in the elevator, a week later. The doors slid shut, trapping us in a small, humming space. "You're Michelle, right?" His voice was deep, confident, with a warmth that made my stomach flip. I nodded, surprised he knew my name. "How did you—" "I've seen you in the hallway," he said, leaning casually against the wall. His smile was easy, but his eyes held something deeper. "You always look like you're carrying the weight of the world." I laughed, a nervous sound, but my chest tightened. No one had noticed me like that in years, not Daniel, not even my friends, who'd stopped asking about my marriage long ago. "I'm Marcus," he continued, extending a hand. His grip was firm, his skin warm against mine. "Nice to meet you," I managed, my voice smaller than I intended. Over the next few weeks, Marcus found ways to be near me. He'd hold the building's heavy glass door open, his smile lingering as I passed. He offered to carry my groceries, his arm brushing mine as he took the bags. In the laundry room, he'd accidentally bump into me, his hand grazing my elbow as he apologized with a grin. Each touch sent an electric jolt through me, a reminder of what I'd been missing. I told myself it was harmless, a neighbor being friendly, but deep down, I knew better. One rainy evening, as thunder rumbled outside, a knock came at my door. Daniel was at work, as usual, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I opened the door to find Marcus, his dark hair damp from the rain, his white shirt clinging to his chest. "You okay?" he asked, his eyes searching mine. I nodded, but my throat felt tight. "Just a long day." He stepped closer, the scent of rain and cedar filling the space between us. "You've been on my mind," he admitted, rainwater glistening on his skin. "A woman like you shouldn't be alone." I should have shut the door. I should have laughed it off, told him to go home. But the way he looked at me like I was something precious, something wanted, made my breath hitch. Daniel hadn't looked at me like that in years, maybe ever. "I can fill that space for you," Marcus murmured, stepping closer. The loneliness, the hunger. My lips parted, but no protest came out. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and longing. I knew this was dangerous, that I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. And when his hand brushed my waist, light but deliberate, I didn't pull away. The air between us crackled, charged with possibility. I could feel the warmth of his body, the intensity of his gaze. My fingers twitched, aching to reach for him, to feel something real after years of numbness. But a small voice in my head screamed for me to stop, to remember my vows, my life, however broken it was. "Marcus," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I'm married." "I know," he said softly, his hand still resting on my waist. "But are you happy?" The question hit like a punch. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. The truth was too heavy, too raw. Before I could respond, A car horn blared outside, breaking the spell. Marcus stepped back, his eyes still locked on mine. "Think about it," he said, his voice low. "I'll be here." He left, and I closed the door, my heart racing. I leaned against it, my fingers brushing where his hand had been. The rain continued to pour, a steady rhythm that matched the chaos in my chest. I didn't sleep that night. The bed felt colder, wider, emptier than ever. And all I could think about was Marcus, his voice, his touch, and the dangerous promise in his words. Marcus's touch was intoxicating. His fingers traced my collarbone, light as a whisper, sending shivers down my spine. We were in my living room, the rain still pounding outside, the dim light casting shadows across his face. I hadn't been touched like this in so long, had almost forgotten what it felt like to be desired. His hand moved to my neck, his thumb brushing the pulse point there, and I felt my resolve crumbling. "You're beautiful," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. I closed my eyes, losing myself in the moment. The years of neglect, of Daniel's cold distance, melted away under Marcus's warmth. His lips hovered near mine, close enough that I could feel the heat of his breath. My body leaned toward him, drawn like a magnet, ready to surrender. A sharp knock at the door jolted me back to reality. "Michelle?" Daniel's voice, clipped and familiar, cut through the haze. I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs. Marcus pulled back, his expression unreadable, but his eyes flickered with something annoyance, maybe, or defiance. I smoothed my shirt, my hands trembling, and forced myself to the door. I opened it to find Daniel, his face as unreadable as ever, his suit slightly damp from the rain. And beside him, a woman I'd never seen before. "Michelle, this is Lydia," he said, his tone flat. "She's staying with us for a while." Lydia was tall, with sharp cheekbones and dark hair pulled into a sleek bun. Her smile was tight, almost practiced, and her eyes scanned me like she was sizing me up. Something about her felt off, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. "Nice to meet you," she said, her voice smooth but cold. I nodded, too stunned to respond properly. Why was she here? Why hadn't Daniel mentioned her before? Marcus stepped forward, breaking the tension. "Marcus," he said, extending a hand to Daniel. "Just moved in next door." Daniel's grip was stiff, his eyes narrowing slightly as he shook Marcus's hand. "Nice to meet you," he said, but his tone suggested otherwise. The air in the room thickened, heavy with unspoken questions. Lydia's gaze darted between us, her lips curling slightly, as if she sensed the undercurrent. Marcus excused himself, his hand brushing mine as he passed a subtle, deliberate touch that sent a spark through me. "See you around, Michelle," he said, his voice low. Daniel didn't seem to notice, already turning to Lydia to discuss where she'd sleep. I stood there, caught between the man I'd married and the man who'd just set my world on fire. Later that night, as I lay in bed, Daniel's snores filled the room. Lydia was in the guest room, her presence a nagging weight in my mind. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, the screen glowing in the dark. A message from Marcus. "He doesn't deserve you." My breath caught. I shouldn't have replied. I knew it was wrong, a step too far, but my fingers moved before my brain could stop them. Maybe not. I hit send and immediately regretted it. The message stared back at me, a confession I couldn't take back. I turned off my phone, my heart pounding, and tried to sleep. But Lydia's cold smile and Daniel's indifference haunted me, mingling with the memory of Marcus's touch. The next morning, Lydia was already in the kitchen when I woke up, sipping coffee like she owned the place. Daniel was gone off to work early, as usual. "Sleep well?" Lydia asked, her tone too casual. "Fine," I lied, pouring myself a cup. She watched me over the rim of her mug, her eyes sharp. "You and Daniel seem distant," she said, almost like she was testing me. I bristled but kept my voice even. "We're fine." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Good to know." The day passed in a blur of unease. Lydia's presence felt like an invasion, her every word laced with something I couldn't quite name. And Marcus, his message burned in my mind, a dangerous temptation I couldn't shake. By evening, I was restless, pacing the apartment. Daniel wasn't home yet, and Lydia had gone out, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I found myself in the hallway, staring at Marcus's door. I didn't knock, but I wanted to. God, I wanted to. Instead, I went back inside, my heart a tangled mess of guilt and desire. Something was shifting, and I wasn't sure I could stop it. I shouldn't have gone to his apartment. I knew it was a mistake the moment I knocked, my hand trembling against the wood. But the pull was too strong, a current dragging me under. Marcus opened the door, his eyes darkening as he saw me. "Michelle?" he said, his voice low, almost reverent. I didn't speak. I didn't trust myself to. He stepped aside, and I walked in, the door clicking shut behind me, like a trap snapping closed. His apartment was sparse, a bachelor's space with a leather couch and a single lamp casting a warm glow. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. His hands found my waist, pulling me close, and I didn't resist. His kiss was hungry, possessive, yet achingly gentle, like he was savoring every second. My body responded before my mind could catch up, my hands tangling in his hair as he pressed me against the wall. The bed creaked under our weight as he guided me to it, his body covering mine. For the first time in years, I felt wanted, alive, like I was more than a ghost in my own life. His hands roamed my skin, igniting every nerve, and I surrendered to the feeling, letting it consume me. Then his wallet fell from his pocket, hitting the floor with a soft thud. It spilled open, papers and cards scattering. I wouldn't have noticed, except for the photo that caught the light. I froze, pushing him back. "What's that?" He followed my gaze, his expression tightening. I leaned down, my heart pounding, and picked up the photo. My blood ran cold. It was Daniel and Marcus, together, smiling. They were younger, standing in front of a building with a sign I couldn't read. Their arms were slung around each other, like old friends. I shoved Marcus away, my voice shaking. "What is this?" His expression darkened, a mix of frustration and something else, guilt, maybe. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it," I snapped, clutching the photo. My mind raced, piecing together the implications. This wasn't a coincidence. Marcus hadn't just moved in next door. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "Daniel and we have history. Business gone bad. He owes me." My stomach twisted. "Owes you? So what? I'm just collateral damage? A way to get back at him?" Marcus stopped, his eyes locking onto mine. "What I feel for you is real." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. His voice was raw, his gaze intense, but the photo in my hand felt like a lie. "How am I supposed to trust you?" I asked, my voice breaking. He stepped closer, cupping my face. "Because I'm here, Michelle. I see you. He doesn't." I pulled away, my heart a battlefield of desire and doubt. "I need to think," I said, grabbing my coat and heading for the door. "Michelle, wait." But I was already gone, the photo still clutched in my hand. Back in my apartment, I locked the door and sank to the floor, staring at the image. Daniel's smile mocked me, a reminder of the man he used to be, or maybe the man I'd never really known. Who was Marcus to him? A friend turned enemy? A partner? And what did it mean that he'd targeted me? I didn't sleep that night. The photo sat on my nightstand, a silent accusation. Daniel came home late, slipping into bed without a word. I lay there, my mind spinning, wondering who I'd married and who I'd let into my heart. The next morning, Lydia was in the kitchen again, her presence like a splinter under my skin. She watched me as I poured coffee, her eyes, too, knowing. "Rough night?" she asked, her tone almost mocking. I ignored her, but her gaze followed me, sharp and unsettling. Something about her felt wrong, like she was playing a role. I couldn't shake the feeling that she knew more than she let on. By afternoon, I was unraveling. I needed answers, but I didn't know where to start. Marcus's words echoed in my head. "What I feel for you is real." But could I believe him? Or was I just a pawn in a game I didn't understand? Daniel was hiding something. I could feel it in the way he avoided my eyes, in the clipped way he spoke when he bothered to speak at all. Lydia's presence in our home only made it worse. Her every move calculated, her smiles too sharp. She watched me when she thought I wasn't looking, her gaze like a predator sizing up prey. I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus's photo. The image of him and Daniel burned into my mind. What was their connection? And why had Marcus come into my life now, when I was at my weakest? I needed to know. So, I went through Daniel's desk. It was a violation, but I didn't care anymore. The drawer was locked, but I found the key taped beneath it, a habit he'd never broken. Inside, I found what I'd feared. Divorce papers, already drafted, dated months ago. My name stared back at me, clinical and cold, next to Daniel's signature. My hands shook. He'd been planning this for months, maybe longer, and never said a word. I felt like a fool, clinging to a marriage that was already dead. I didn't think. I grabbed the papers and marched to Marcus's apartment, my anger a living thing. He opened the door, his face softening until he saw the papers in my hand. "Did you know?" I demanded, shoving the documents at him. He scanned them, his jaw tightening. "I suspected." "Suspected?" I laughed, bitter and raw. "You used me, Marcus. You knew he was planning this, and you still—" "I didn't know." His voice rose, his hands grabbing my arms. His grip was tight, almost bruising, but his eyes burned with something I couldn't name. Anger, desperation, maybe both. "You were never a pawn, Michelle. I fell for you." I yanked free, my heart pounding. How am I supposed to believe that? You and Daniel have history. You admitted it. This was all a game to get back at him. "Number." He stepped closer, his voice low and urgent. "I came here for him, yes. But then I saw you. I saw how he treated you, how he ignored you. You deserve better." His words hit like a blade, slicing through my defenses. I wanted to believe him, but the papers in my hand felt like proof of betrayal. Daniel's, Marcus's, maybe even my own. "Tell me the truth," I said, my voice shaking. "What happened between you and Daniel?" He hesitated, his eyes darkening. "We were partners. Real estate deals, years ago. He cut me out, took everything. I lost my savings, my reputation. He walked away clean." "So this is revenge," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "At first, maybe," he admitted. "But not now. Not with you." I shook my head, backing toward the door. "I can't do this." "Michelle, please." But I was already gone, the divorce papers crumpled in my fist. Back in my apartment, Lydia was waiting, her eyes glinting as she saw my state. "Trouble in paradise?" she asked, her tone dripping with false sympathy. "Leave me alone," I snapped, brushing past her. But she followed, her voice low. "You should be careful, Michelle. Not everyone is who they seem." I turned, my anger flaring. "What's that supposed to mean?" She smiled, slow and deliberate. "Just a friendly warning. That night, I couldn't sleep." Daniel's snores filled the room, but all I could think about was Marcus's touch, his confession, and Lydia's cryptic words. The divorce papers sat on my nightstand, a ticking bomb. I didn't know who to trust: my husband, who'd planned to leave me, Marcus, who might be playing me, or Lydia, who seemed to know too much. The next day, I avoided Marcus, but his presence lingered like a shadow. I caught glimpses of him in the hallway, his eyes searching mine, but I kept my distance. Lydia, meanwhile, seemed to be everywhere, her presence a constant irritation. By evening, I was a wreck, my emotions a tangled mess of anger, desire, and fear. I didn't know what was real anymore, but I knew one thing: I couldn't keep living like this. I stood at a crossroads, the divorce papers spread across the kitchen table. Daniel's signature stared up at me, a final confirmation of the life we'd lost. I hadn't signed yet, my hand hovering over the pen, paralyzed by indecision. Marcus's words echoed in my mind. I fell for you, but so did his admission of revenge. Could I trust him? Could I trust myself? Daniel was at work, as always, and Lydia was out, leaving the apartment eerily quiet. I'd spent the day replaying everything: Marcus's touch, Daniel's betrayal, Lydia's unsettling presence. I was tired of being a bystander in my own life, tired of letting others decide my worth. I reached for the pen, my heart heavy but resolute. Signing would mean freedom, but also an end to the life I'd known. I didn't know if I was ready. Then my phone buzzed, the sound sharp in the silence. An unknown number. I opened the message, my breath catching. Lydia isn't who she says she is. Meet me. I'll explain everything. The sender? Marcus? My pulse raced. I'd suspected Lydia was hiding something, but this confirmed it. Her cryptic warnings, her too perfect smiles. It all made sense now. But why was Marcus telling me this? Was it another manipulation, or was he trying to protect me? I grabbed my coat and headed to his apartment, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. He opened the door before I could knock, his face tense. "You got my message?" he said, pulling me inside. "Tell me everything," I demanded, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. He paced, his hands clenched. "Lydia's not just some friend of Daniel's. She's his lawyer and his lover." The words hit like a slap. "His lover?" Marcus nodded, his eyes dark. "I've been watching them. She's been helping him plan the divorce, making sure he gets everything: your savings, the apartment, all of it." My knees buckled, and I sank onto his couch. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't know how," he said, kneeling in front of me. "I didn't want to hurt you more." I searched his face, looking for the lie, but all I saw was pain. "And you?" I asked. "Are you still after revenge?" He took my hands, his grip warm and steady. "I was, but you changed everything. I love you, Michelle." The words stole my breath. I wanted to believe him, to let myself fall, but the weight of betrayal, Daniel's, Lydia's, maybe even Marcus's, held me back. "I need proof," I said finally. He nodded, pulling out his phone. "I have emails, texts between them. I'll show you everything." Before he could, a knock came at the door. We froze. Marcus opened it, revealing Lydia, her smile cold and calculating. "Michelle," she said, her voice like ice, "we need to talk." I stood, my heart racing. "About what?" She stepped inside, her eyes flicking to Marcus. "About the truth, and what happens if you don't sign those papers." The air crackled with tension. I glanced at Marcus, his jaw tight, his hand hovering near mine. I had a choice: walk away from the lies or uncover the truth. And this time, I was ready to fight. Lydia stood in Marcus's apartment, her presence like a storm cloud, heavy and oppressive. Her smile was sharp, her eyes glinting with a confidence that made my skin crawl. I felt trapped, caught between her icy certainty and Marcus's tense silence. His hand brushed mine, a subtle anchor, but I wasn't sure if I could trust it or him. "Talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "What's the truth you're so eager to share?" Lydia tilted her head, her smile widening. "Daniel's been planning to leave you for years. The divorce papers? Just the final step. He's been building a case against you, Michelle. Infidelity, instability, whatever it takes to leave you with nothing." My stomach churned. Infidelity? I've been faithful. Her laugh was cold. "Not anymore, it seems." Her gaze flicked to Marcus, lingering on our joined hands. "Convenient timing, don't you think?" I pulled my hand away, my heart pounding. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything," she said, stepping closer. "I'm telling you, Daniel knows about your little moments with Marcus. He's been watching you." My blood ran cold. I glanced at Marcus, his face a mask of anger and guilt. "Is that true?" I asked him. He shook his head, his voice low. "I didn't know he was watching, but I suspected he'd try something like this." Lydia smirked. "Oh, Marcus, always playing the hero. Tell her the rest. Tell her why you really came here." I turned to him, my heart in my throat. "Marcus?" He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes pained. "I told you about the business deal, how Daniel betrayed me. What I didn't say was that I came here to ruin him, to expose him. But then I met you, and you decided to use her instead?" Lydia cut in, her voice dripping with venom. "Don't lie to her, Marcus. She deserves the truth." "Stop it!" I snapped, my voice shaking. "Both of you! Just tell me what's going on!" Lydia sighed, as if indulging a child. "Daniel and I have been together for 2 years. He wants out, Michelle, but he wants it clean. No alimony, no assets split. That's where I come in. I'm making sure he gets what he wants." My knees weakened, but I forced myself to stand tall. "And Marcus?" She laughed softly. "Marcus is a complication. He's been digging into Daniel's past, trying to find dirt. He thought seducing you would hurt Daniel most." "That's not true," Marcus growled, stepping toward her. "I love her." Lydia raised an eyebrow. "Love? Or leverage?" I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small, the walls closing in. I looked at Marcus, searching for the truth in his eyes, but all I saw was desperation. "Show me the proof," I said to him, my voice barely a whisper. He hesitated, then pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. He handed it to me, his fingers brushing mine. The screen showed emails between Daniel and Lydia, discussing the divorce, their affair, and a plan to paint me as unfit. There were photos, too, Daniel and Lydia together, laughing, intimate. My hands shook as I scrolled. "How did you get this?" "I have my ways," Marcus said, his voice low. "I told you, I was after him. But I swear, Michelle, you weren't part of the plan." Lydia clapped slowly, mockingly. "Well done, Marcus. But it's too late. Daniel's already filed. If Michelle doesn't sign, he'll drag her through court. She'll lose everything." I turned to her, anger surging. "Why are you telling me this? What do you gain?" Her smile faltered just for a moment. "I want this over. Sign the papers, Michelle. Walk away." "No," I said, my voice firm. "I'm done being manipulated." Lydia's eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake." "Then it's mine to make," I shot back. She stared at me, then turned, and left, her heels clicking against the floor. The door slammed shut, leaving me and Marcus in heavy silence. I turned to him, my heart a mess of emotions. "Tell me you didn't use me." He stepped closer, his hands cupping my face. "I didn't. I swear it. I love you, Michelle. I know I messed up, but I'm here now. For you." I wanted to believe him, but the weight of betrayal was too heavy. I pulled away, my voice breaking. "I need time." He nodded, his eyes filled with pain. "I'll wait." Back in my apartment, I sat at the table, the divorce papers staring up at me. I didn't sign them, not yet. Instead, I grabbed my phone and started searching Daniel's emails, his bank records, anything I could access. If he and Lydia were playing dirty, I'd play dirtier. The next morning, I found something, a hidden account. Transfers to Lydia's name. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for myself. Marcus knocked that evening, his expression cautious. "Any decision?" he asked. I looked at him, my heart still torn. "I'm not signing yet, but I'm not giving up either." He smiled, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Then I'll fight with you." For the first time, I felt a spark of strength. Whatever came next, truth, lies, or love, I was ready.